Hello gang, good to have you back again. Of course, if you're tuning in for the first time, I am the Articulate Grunt. Welcome to my channel. I know the beard is gone. I got a new job and they've got a facial hair policy. So while I get to keep the stash, the beard had to go. I know, my daughter's devastated. Daddy's scruffy's gone. But that's not what you're here for today. Now, as I frequently say, get out, get involved in your community. If somebody else fixes something or does something that you don't agree with, and you weren't involved, you didn't get involved, especially if you had the opportunity, you've really got nobody to blame but yourself, because you didn't bother to get involved. Now, as part of that, where I landed getting out of the Army, I can't really do anything for 2 years. You have to have 2 years residency before you can get involved on council board meetings, things like that, before you can run for even the most paltry, minor of local offices or positions. But for the last year, I have been attending city council meetings. I've been attending education board, school board, transportation board. Every Tuesday, I attend a city council luncheon that is open to the public. But I'm like the only public individual who shows up regularly. And actually, I show up regularly enough that several of the city council members started joking that I'm there more than some of them are. Matter of fact, the city clerk, when I show up, now gives me copies of any of the paperwork going on, and pretty much everybody knows me by face and name. I've just kind of become part of everything that goes on, though I still have to abide by mandates and regulations, and since I am not a part of the city council, I'm not part of any of the boards or anything, I have to be quiet. But I'm there and I am involved. I know what's going on. I've got a much better perception than, well, 180,000 people in the city I live in, and I'm the only one that shows up regularly who's not being paid to or is an elected official. I make that difference because our city council members, even our mayor, are unpaid elected officials. The mayor gets $200 a month for expenses. That's it. Gotta love that about the area I'm in. But today I want to talk about a couple of different things, specifically starting with the police force. City of 180,000 almost triples with transient population that comes in every day for work, employment, and those kind of things, and has a police force of 332 officers. Now, that is not just patrol officers. That is all officers. That's patrol, forensics, investigations, everything. And from that, you pretty much have to cut 10 guys, because 10 patrol officers' positions are funded and paid for by the local colleges, so that there's a guarantee that officers will be on patrol around campus, will be available for major functions, all those kind of things. The campuses pool money to pay for 10 officers' positions for the city. Now, the city also runs its own academy. It's not a full-time running police academy type thing. It's whenever they have 20 or more open slots, usually once a year, they can get budgeting approval and funding to train new officers. Now, these new officers, they go in their paid training positions. It's 6 months of training and then 6 to 18 months of on the job, doing ride-alongs, working the various offices, the various beats, getting to know the city and the job first-hand experience. So it takes 1 to 2 years for these new officers to come online. Now, why I mention this is because the city police department is trying to get an expansion of 20 to 30 new officer positions, specifically for cadets, for these paid trained positions, because they're chronically short. They cannot even schedule a training class until they have a minimum 20 openings, which means, take those 10 off the top for the universities, the city is a minimum of 20 men short in the patrol force. Currently, it's about 37. They lose 2 to 2.5 a month, which means they have to hit that number and then get budgeting approval, get everything lined up, and get the academy class running, which means by the time they've got 20 to 25 in, usually takes about 6 months, they've lost possibly another 24 or more officers, putting them further behind. Thus the current shortage of about 37 officers. And the class isn't due to start till about September. I wish I could sign up for it myself, but with my injuries from combat, I'm not capable of performing all the duties. Otherwise I'd be there. Now, city planners love it. The city council loves it. Everybody wants this to happen. But economics and the budget the way they are these days, they've been looking for ways to either cut money to make money available or to make extra money without imposing additional taxes on the taxpayers of the city. For that, again, I've got to applaud them. Personally, a little extra tax to get those extra officers out there, especially with crime on the rise the last few years in the city of Springfield, I wouldn't complain too much. But with that, and with considering that, and trying to find ways, everything possible seems to be being looked at. Now, along with that is the city's municipal and traffic courts, which, according to the money management boys, only commonly recoups about 20% of the cost for the courts. Municipal and traffic courts, all the fines and fees that are levied, generally only recoups about 20% of what it costs the city to process and run the courts. So, looking at a number of those things, looking at how they could improve that, I've been looking at every avenue and difference and changes, and as a part of that, I met the city prosecutor, and he handed me a copy of the paperwork just like everybody else. I brought it on home to share with you some of the things I found and found out about. Now, please excuse me if I glance down every now and then. I've got the paperwork here in front of me along with my notes. And I may check a couple of things just to double check, make sure I don't speak falsely. Now, the standard cost charged to a defendant in municipal court cases in the city of Springfield, Missouri, is normally about $23.50. Now, most of that is just locked in standard. It's things that can't get easily changed. Crime Victims Compensation Fund Surcharge, $7.50. The Police Officer Standards and Training Commission Surcharge is $1. $3 for the Sheriff's Retirement Fund Surcharge. And then $12 is for the clerk's fees, which is supposed to pay for the manpower, the time, the effort, and everything to see to the court, to see to the filing of the paperwork. Everything the clerks and legal personnel do in processing the municipal court. Well, the thing is, I found out that $12 fee that goes with that isn't even controllable by the city of Springfield. See, the thing is, apparently, by Missouri state law, that largest fee there is actually controlled by the state Supreme Court and is being looked at as an increase, but can't be increased without the approval and input of the state Supreme Court. And it has not been updated since 1978. That's right. With the court fees and costs, $12 was thought to be a fair amount in 1978, and it has not been allowed to be increased since then. A little out of date, probably something that needs a little bit of updating. Now, moving on from that, I've also got the full list of the mandatory minimum fines according to the city code. Now, unless stated elsewhere, all of these max at $1,000. I'm going to read through them. It's rather short, but I'm going to pause at a few points to make some inferences and things that just hit me as being a little wacky and off, but also some suggestions, just from my point of view, on how to fix some of them and generate extra revenue for the city, especially for the police department. Now, first off, minor in possession of an intoxicating liquid. $500 minimum fine, maxing at $1,000. Seems a little severe. You're going to be hitting a teenager, maybe 20-year-old. Now, we got several colleges in town, so I can see kind of where this came from. That still seems a bit of a steep amount, especially when it's going to get hit to mommy and daddy, and the kid's probably just going to, shrug it off and keep going. Possession of a false ID, $500 minimum, $1,000 max. Now, here's one that hits me. Open container in a motor vehicle. The way it's written up, it's not even necessarily an open alcoholic or intoxicating container in a motor vehicle. It's just open container. So theoretically, you could have your Chick-fil-A or Burger King to-go cup sitting there in your cup holder. It's an open beverage in a vehicle. You get slapped with a $100 fine, up to $1,000. Now, personally on this one, a small rewrite, I think, would do a wonder of good. It's currently open container in motor vehicle. Change it to open intoxicating container or influencing paraphernalia in vehicle. That's just to cover in the future for things like marijuana and such, because last year alone, the U.S., even with it being illegal in most every state, individuals driving just under nothing but the influence of marijuana were found guilty of causing over 1,500 fatal accidents. That's with it being illegal. But more and more states are going to approve medicinal marijuana, are going to recreational marijuana, so just get that on the books ahead of time to cover it. So, as I was saying, open alcoholic or intoxicating beverage container or mind-influencing product residue in the vehicle, because I'm sorry, somebody with an open beverage container, especially alcoholic, having a minimum of a $100 fine, while a teen, minor, in possession of intoxicating liquor is $500, seems off scale. One's going to get sick and puke all over themselves, wake up in the morning feeling like shit with a nasty hangover. The other is feasibly going to kill somebody driving down the road. So, change it to include intoxicating, cover the basic drug paraphernalia side, and jack it up. $500 to $750 minimum fine, still maxing at the $1,000, that's fine. And now those itty-bitty citations that are commonplace going down the road and such that cost almost as much to process as they do to collect the money actually become a windfall. Can actually get better money in to help with the police who are out there actually giving these citations in the first place. Get more officers on the road. But let's keep going down the list. Fourth, animal-related offense in 18-month period. That's virtually any animal-related offense. Animal cruelty, animal violence, $200 fine. Fifth animal-related offense in 18 months, $400 fine, maxing at $1,000. Animal running at large. Your dog gets out of your yard and is running down the street, $10. Per day for violation of lawful order by the Director of Building Development Services. Basically like you're pouring a concrete foundation, you're putting in a garage, or you're doing some sort of construction or renovations. And whoa, you don't have the right permits, you have to stop. You have to stop until you've got the right permits. Freeze, stop construction. You keep going. $50 per day you violated the cease and desist. Per day of failure to comply with swimming pool abatement orders, $50 a day. On second violation for cigarette sales without a permit. For second violation of selling cigarettes without a permit, $50. I'm sorry. Personally, that one right there could also be kicked up. It's not as frequent a thing to happen, I would be willing to wager, as the open intoxicating beverage in a vehicle, but still, without a license selling cigarettes, that's illegal. That shouldn't just be a $50 fine for your second offense. Let's bump that sucker up to the $500 and, recoup some costs. On violation of lead poisoning regulations. Yeah, all those things like, you can't use lead-based paint or allow it to be stick around. You've got to clean it up and everything. $100. Once again, not as frequent a thing, but let's bring that up. $100. That is low for something that could quite feasibly kill someone or, give children brain damage. You know what I'm talking about if you've read into any of those studies and the effects that lead-based paint and things like that can have on kids. For violation to renting property registration codes, $300. For tenants subleasing to more than 3 unrelated persons in a single unit, $100. Nuisance offenses, public nuisances. Music's too loud, your brush is uncut, you've got debris sitting out in your yard spilling over into the sidewalk, or being just a nasty eyesore. First offense, $25. Second time during a 12-month period, minimum of $50. Third time, $150. Fourth time, $300. No biggie. Littering on the second offense, $25. $100 for each offense thereafter. Graffiti on property. Not for owning the property and having it have graffiti on it, obviously, but for spray painting graffiti on property, $250. Yeah, that open beverage container was $100, but spray painting graffiti on something is $250. Getting off that soapbox, carrying on. Phosphorus violations. Second offense, $25, $100 for each subsequent offense. I had to ask the prosecutor about that one. What is a phosphorus violation? And basically, it pertains, according to the code, to certain types of fertilizer, using heavy amounts of phosphorus and such, which thus causes a chemical runoff into the local water supply, causing all sorts of other natural problems. $25 fine for second offense, $100 for each subsequent offense after that. Considering all the problems it can feasibly cause in the natural ecosystem, that could probably use to be a bit higher. But, keeping on. Failure to appear in court, specifically at sentencing due to court determinations, default of failure, all that kind of stuff, $300. Assault on a sports official. you don't agree with that obviously blind or biased SOB at your kid's Little League game who, ignored all the fouls from the other team, but, soccer's going on, when the other team's player threw himself on the ground, screaming and pretending to be kicked in the knee when there was nobody within 10 feet, and called your kid's team on a foul, called a foul on your kid when he was on the other end of the field? Any kind of assault. Slap him, throw a beer can at him, whatever. Minimum $250 fine, max of $1,000. Now, covered nuisance earlier. Back where all the highways went in and were built and everything. I believe it was Mrs. Roosevelt who wanted to make sure our roads stayed pretty. Required that, barrier walls be put up to hide eyesores for, salvage yards and things like that. And there were federal fines put in. There's also a local fine of $200 for salvage yard eyesore nuisance violations within 2 years. You got one, okay, you got a warning, you probably get the $25 fine from the previous code that I mentioned. Within 2 years, you're a scrapyard, you did it again, $200. Now, first offense for cruising. That's right, cruising up and down the road, partying with your buddies, getting some sodas, trying to impress the girls, that kind of thing. $25 fine. Now, for second offense, it's $100 and or community service. Third offense and all subsequent offenses are $250 fine per incident and community service to be assigned as deemed appropriate by the judge. Red light violations. You're around a red light, $100 fine. Handicap parking violations, $50 fine. If the fine is not paid within 5 days after the violation, additional $10. Front yard parking violations. Apparently there was some sort of big nuisance problem years ago with people putting all sorts of extra cars, probably especially around the colleges with some of the frat sorority houses, parking cars in lawns, front yards, things like that. $25 per vehicle. Violating a stop work order, other than the previous one, obviously, by the Director of Developmental Building Services, $100. And, as a final note, any of those charges taking place in a school zone is automatically doubled. Now, for most of you, this is going to have been long and boring. I hope you picked up some good points of it. I hope it interests you to take a look at your local regulations and see just what's on the books. Some of that may seem silly or just ridiculously stupid by comparison. $100 for an open beverage container in a vehicle compared to $500 for, a youth with an intoxicating beverage. Let's level that out, change it up a bit, make it a little more realistic. Or you may agree with it completely. Hope this will inspire you to take a look at your local laws and regulations. Get up, get motivated, get involved. Get out there and at least know what's going on. I hate to say it, but I've probably got a better grip of what's going on in this city where I've been for just over a year than over 99% of the local residents who have been here for generations. With that, though, leave your thoughts and comments down below. Hit the like or dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tweet it to your friends so they can get awake and aware, possibly get motivated, or just bored into Snoresville. And I hope this found you in good health. Take care of yourselves, and remember, get out, get involved. You don't like something, get involved and get it fixed. Because if somebody else fixes it how they like and how you really don't, if you didn't get involved, you've really got no right to or place to complain other than to yourself and in that mirror. Take care, stay well. I am the Articulate Grunt, and I will catch you later. Out from here. Bye.